Hello, I'm Shelley Graziano from the St. Mary's County Department of Aging and Human Services, here to provide you with ridiculously easy Christmas decor. I'm going to start with my china cabinet. Inside here are my craft supplies, and it looks really bad in there, so I wanted to cover it up. I'm going to show you just how bad it is in there. You see, it needed to be covered up, but it's just as ugly on the back side of these doors. And what I've done is I crumpled up some tissue paper, some blue for a sky and some white for snow, and I just put it up any old way, and this is masking tape so it shouldn't harm the wood, and close them up. I made a snowman out of, well, coffee filters because I wanted him to be three-dimensional, and just drew a little face on him. Now I'm going to draw some snowflakes on here. I've done this one previously, but this is a chalk marker. It wipes off easily with water and a paper towel. You can clean it up better if you want with alcohol. But I'm just going to make some big enough dots that will show up there just to give it a little bit of excitement. There we go. Just doing a few little dots. And I'm going to take this one and draw lines from it. And then some more dots in each little section. It only took a few seconds, and if I wanted to, I could even do dots at the end of each line. So I'll just do a couple so we can get on with things. The next thing I want to show you is a very simple bow. So many bows that we see, they're absolutely gorgeous, but there's probably 9 yards of fabric. I might be exaggerating, but there's quite a bit of fabric. I personally like a simple bow, and I'm going to make what my friend Audrey calls Shelley bows. I don't know that I invented it. I probably saw somebody else do it, but I've adopted it as my own, and that's what they call them at the center where I work. They call them Shelley bows, and I use them for everything. What I have here is, this is probably less than this is less than a yard of ribbon. This is wire edged on each side, and I'm going to make an X and a loop. So it's all one piece. It kind of looks like those ribbons that you see that represent different things. So here's an X and here's an O. I'm going to clutch the center of the X and the center of the O, squeeze them together like this. Then I'm going to take a piece of wire and grasp it right in the center, twist it several times, pretty tight. And now I have a very simple bow. I can fluff it up. You can't even see the wire in the center anymore because I squeezed those close. We can use these bows for anything. You can use different kinds of ribbon to make these. I'll show you some examples. This is probably 4 inches wide, and I have the wire at the bottom. I think this is it's simple, but it really is elegant, and it's not wasteful. Here's a little bit narrower one, and I've got shorter tails on this. Now you can also use these. This is a strip of fabric, and we will talk about that soon, how I make strips of fabric. This would probably be stiffer if I had starched it, but sometimes I just like things to be the way they are. So these are our examples of bows. Now let's talk about garland. This is your typical garland that you find in the stores. I like this because it's inexpensive. It holds its shape very well. It has lots of sticky outy things that you can put things on there. I've got this in the traditional swag style. And instead of putting bows or your ornaments or traditional things, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to simply take Christmas stockings and a plain old clothespin. I haven't even decorated this clothespin because I like its simplicity. So let me hang one right here in the middle. And one on each side. I think I'll turn this guy around to match him. I do think that looks very festive, but I'd like to add a little something else to it. I just love decorating with candy canes. They are cheap, they're attractive, and you can eat them if you want to. And I'm just going to stick these on these little sticky outy places like this. Now to me, that looks very festive. Side to side garland is not the only way to hang it. How about just hanging a strip of garland up and down? We don't often think about that, but it's very simple. And again, I would like to put something unusual on here. I think these little gift bags are super adorable. I took the handle and just tucked it in. Once again, a simple clothespin, and I'm just going to clip these on here to those sticky outy things. I like to have a little variety in color. Tuck that down. We'll turn it around so you can see it better. And let's put one, how about here? Well, actually, that's pretty low. I'll put him here. Now I've changed my mind. They're not equidistant, and that's bothering me. So, it's just a clothespin. I'll move this guy up a little bit. Maybe I'll even put them at a little bit of an angle. There. That looks pretty good. But they seem like they need something else. This is about 1/4 of a piece of your standard tissue. I like to have a corner sticking up at the top. And I'm just going to tuck these in a little bit. And one more stubborn thing. I'm going to crumple him up because he was being bad. And again, I do think they could use a little something else. So here I am back with the candy canes. I'll put one here and one here. Let's turn that around a little bit so it shows up better. Hopefully you can see that well. You can use things other than store-bought garland. You can also use string or twine, strips of fabric. You can use anything to hang up. I have some string and I've taped it to the other side so it hangs down. I got one on this side too. Now let's see, what should I put on here? Gift tags are also very inexpensive, and they are really pretty. Sometimes they're a work of art themselves. And I think they will look really adorable hanging up on these pieces of string. So this time though, I'm going to use a tiny clothespin. I got this bag of these, and these are actually painted a pretty color, red, my favorite. And I'll just stick these up here. I'll start with the middle. And put one on each side. Oh, let me give him a little more room. One more. We'll put 3 on each side. Groupings of odd numbers are always nice. So let's do some on this other side. I've got a ton of these things. But again, I'll start with the center. And one on each side. Here we go. That's starting to shape up around here. Now let's talk about hiding the ugly stuff. I know we touched on it when we were discussing these windows, but that doesn't really look very festive. You see, I have a cute little thing here, but you can hardly notice it because it's got this here. So let's put this aside for a minute and take 2 Christmas box lids. Very attractive. Let's tape them in the center. Doesn't matter, this tape's not going to show. But now I have a nice little folding backdrop. And I'm going to stick this in front of this ugly stuff. And now our cute little decoration has a totally different look. Now, I'm sure in the 80s that was a great lamp. It might have been absolutely gorgeous, but it serves a purpose here, but not during Christmas season. I want to cover it up. So, now, this is a piece of cardboard from an Amazon package. We're all getting a lot of these days. So I cut a box flap off, and I took 3 candy canes and taped them. Now I used duct tape. It's a pretty color, red, my favorite color, but that doesn't really matter because it's not going to show. So I taped it and I left a little bit of clearance under the hook. So you see there's a little space here. Then I took and folded it. I made creases so that it's in about thirds. So what do you suppose I'm going to do with that? Well, I mean, that's kind of cute, but it needs something. It is cardboard box after all. Call me crazy, but I just think that Christmas pot holders are the cutest darn things. And so I'm going to take 3 pot holders and hang the loop onto each candy cane. I've got a thing going on with these red Christmas trucks too. I just love them. So now I have a cute little partition here to cover up my 1980s lamp. Does that make a world of difference or what? Speaking of ugly, check out these throw pillows that came with my couch. We had a choice of 17 fabrics, and this was the least ugly one, so we took them. But there's something we can do about this. I would really like some nice Christmas pillows for my couch. All you need is about, well, this is actually exactly a yard of Christmas fabric. So let's place the fabric face down. Put the pillow right in the center. This is a square pillow. I believe that's a good thing. Because this is a yard, one side, the selvage sides are longer because they're 45 inches. So let's just cover this up like so. Now I'm going to turn the pillow around. I'll move over here and I'm going to tuck the top in. I'll try to make it as snug as possible, but I will tuck until I have a nice triangle. You see this nice triangle? And then I'm going to take this triangle and tuck it in. Make it as smooth as possible. I'm going to turn this around and do the same thing on the other side. You will notice that this is the side that is where the split is. So I'm going to, again, tuck this in until I have a nice triangle. Again, you see the triangle. And I will tuck this in. Make it nice and tight as I can. Now, of course, it does look pretty good, but it's not going to hold together. And that's where ribbon comes in. But instead of using ribbon, I'm going to take a strip of fabric. This is a little more than a yard. And let me show you about fabric strip. You take some fabric, find the longest edge, which is here. Make one little slit. Oh, I think I want it about this wide. And I'd like the other one to be the same width. So I'll just turn it over. I love doing this. You just tear it. And now you have a nice strip of fabric. It's even because it followed the grain. That's the beauty of tearing fabric. Throw that aside because I don't need it anymore. But by the way, when I made this little bow over here, that's what I did. I tore it and then I cut it the length I wanted. So this is the top of my pillow. So I'm going to take one strip and place it here, and the other strip right side down, right here, and center the pillow right about here. All we need to do is just tie it a little tight, one knot, then another knot. We don't need to make a bow. We don't have that much fabric anyway. Just a couple little strips like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here and tie it in the center. 1 knot, 2 knots. Then I'll pull these out. Now I want this to stay in the center. I don't want one coming over here. So I'm going to take a little strip like this of the same and run it under there at the intersection. Tie it once, tie it twice. Now tell me, which one do you like better? Now for my final trick, I'm going to take a simple painted jar. You don't have to paint it. Somebody painted this with acrylic paint. It looks like a copper color or maybe rose gold, but I know she used acrylic paint. Now I'm going to take some pieces of greenery that's in our yard. I'll start with this. This is the stiffest one, so I'll put him in the back. Some of these I sprayed with a little bit of the Christmas snow. It's kind of hard to resist this stuff. And it's also kind of hard not to put too much on. But I tried to be careful not to overdo. So I'll put this stiff one in the back, followed by some nice simple pine tree. And then I have this tree that has a lovely laying habit. It does very well for jar decorations because of its beautiful draping habit. So these are the ones that I spritzed with some snow. And it gives it a festive Christmas look, I think. And then I'm going to take a piece of simple cedar that is not been spritzed with the snow, put in here because that gives it a little bit of, it gives the white a little more definition and has some nice features of its own. I think it gives it some depth. And you can see it's not symmetrical. It looks like somebody just shoved these in a jar, which as you see is exactly what I did. I don't mind if things aren't perfect. I like it when things look homemade, and this certainly does. But I will say it could use a little something else. So here we go again with the candy canes. Now I took a candy cane and attached a small shelly bow to it. And the only purpose the candy cane is serving is to hold the bow up. Then I'm going to stick this in here so you have just enough color to make it festive while still displaying all the natural colors. And that's how simple it is to do ridiculously easy Christmas decor.